The views expressed in this program do not reflect the views of the staff, management, or licensee of this station. This is 91.7 FM, WHUS Stores. I am Pedalin' Ron, and you are listening to Bicycle Talk. Bicycle Talk, episode number 438, to be broadcast on Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025, on WHUS 91.7 FM and WHUS.org. Welcome to Bicycle Talk with my friendly co-host, the lovely Dr. Fran Storch, who is in the other room but will be back soon. If you are watching on Facebook Live, please feel free to comment. We might be able to get back to you on that. Bicycle Talk is a show where we talk about bicycles, bicycle culture, bicycle advocacy, upcoming news in cycling, the bicycle business, and the bicycle calendar. If you have a comment or you'd like to contribute information to the show and are listening on Facebook Live, you can comment right down here below, or you can send me an email at bicycletalk1@gmail.com. You can listen to past episodes of Bicycle Talk on WHUS.org, iTunes, Spotify, and now on my Bicycle Talk YouTube channel. Ron's Rant of a Week. Oh, don't say I didn't warn you. Specialized and Trek released announcements that there will be 10% price increases starting right now. So, you know what? If you didn't do it, you waited too long, and that's too bad, because I gave you a big heads up on this. We talked about what was going to happen with these tariffs. We talked about how it was going to be a major concern. We've also talked about how it really shouldn't be, because we don't really manufacture anything here in the United States, so therefore we're kind of putting tariffs on things that don't make any sense. I'm not going to get into that more. I rant about that every week. So anyway, yeah, the prices have already started going up, and it's only going to get a whole lot worse. So, hopefully your bike's in good shape and you're ready to go for another season, and you should be okay. But, if you need even to buy parts for your bike, it's going to be rough. It's going to be a rough year. We're on a bumpy road right now. Speaking of bumpy road, congestion pricing in New York City. Yeah. So here's an exclusive for you. The early Trump memos determined that Sean Duffy's argument against congested bike pricing undermine Sean Duffy's arguments against congestion pricing, excuse me. I'm not getting my words out straight today. So yeah, the the former administration of Trump didn't seem to have a problem with congestive pricing. And now, all of a sudden, they're all up in arms and against it. And the current Transportation Secretary Duffy demanded that the MTA and congestion pricing be dropped by April 20th. That was a couple days ago, maybe yesterday. So, hopefully it didn't happen, because they're arguing it pretty heavily in New York, and they really can't enforce it legally at this point in time. So anyway, maybe we can talk a little bit more about that in the show. I'll get into it in a little while, and it's just, don't take away something that works, please. Anyway, moving on a positive side, May, it's just around the corner. It's really, really close. I'll have one last episode in April, and that will be next Monday or Wednesday if you're listening on WHUS. And then we're going to move on into May, and May is like an incredibly busy bicycle month. It's Bike Month. It's National Bike Month. And I'll talk a little bit more about that a little later into the show. There's 5 ways to boost your employee engagement during Bike Month, during May's Bike Month. And that's from a People for Bikes site. And then I have another little piece here, too, about road diets and how important road diets are. Yeah, road diet. You think about a diet and you think about not eating food, which I do not recommend, by the way. I like eating food. I enjoy my food. My food is my energy. My food is my power. So therefore, food is good. And if you ride a bicycle a lot, you always need more food. But then there's the road diet. The road diet is quite simply the ability to take the rapid driving cars down to a more reasonable limit by restricting the size and the turns and all the different things in the road that make the road go slower, which is a really, really good thing. Guess what? Less people get hit by cars riding bicycles when you execute a good road diet. We'll talk a little bit more about that later into the show. Mechanical Minute and Ron's tips for the week. Okay, so your bike has been sitting, hopefully not, or hanging better all winter. Sitting and hanging. I'll explain that in just a second. And lo and behold, the first 70 degree day hits. And how were those tires? Was your bike noisy or full of complaints? Didn't I tell you months ago to check it over or get it to your local bike shop? So, I'm going to give you some tips here on what to look for if you haven't done that already, or if you were majorly surprised when you pulled your bike off the hook, preferably, and not off the floor, never, ever on the floor. People who leave their bikes on the floor are asking for tire failures. They're asking for crispy sidewalls and just a lot of exposure to whatever is coming up through, let's say, a concrete floor if you're doing it in a garage or basement. And don't put your bike on the floor. Hang it from a hook, please, please, please. Hang it from a hook. So that's why I say hanging is always better than letting the bike sit, because when the bike sits, if the tires go down in pressure, then the tires will squash out, the sidewalls will crack, and you're just asking for trouble in the future. And of course, if you have cracked sidewalls on your tires, then you're not going to have a very successful ride, because your ride is going to be interrupted by a major blowout on the sidewall of your tire. Not trying to scare you here, just trying to give you the actual, things that do happen when you don't take care of your machine. So, these are the things to look for. Let's assume that you were very good and you hung your bike up. You're still going to find that there's very, very little air pressure in the tires, because if you haven't been taking it down every 2 or 3 weeks and putting air back in the tires, then your tires are going to be probably pretty close to flat. They're going to be out of air in the tubes, or maybe tubeless doesn't go down because it has sealant on the inside. Not sure. Not a tubeless guy, not a tubeless fan, so I can't really answer that question. But anyway, you gotta put some air pressure back in the tires. Ultimately, if you are doing this all winter long while your bike is hanging there, even though you're not riding it, that is probably the best thing you could do. But you would have to be on some sort of a schedule, or have your calendar set, or whatever it is, to remind you, time to put air in the tires. You would have to do something like that to be able to exercise that. I don't always do that with my bikes. But I do have, I have been through them all recently and checked all the air pressure and everything. Everything's up to spec, and also have, checked to be sure that the lubrication is good. Everything looks pretty good on my bikes right now. So I'm feeling good about that. The only thing I'm not feeling good about is my inability to ride my bike for other reasons, which I will explain even more to you in the future. I finally figured out why I have no power in my legs and the rest of my body. So this is good news and bad news, because I am going to have something done about it, which is a surgical procedure. But anyway, there was that question when I went to the neurosurgeon about So you ride a bike. Are you one of those guys that rides with your hands on top of the bars, or are you one of those guys that rides down in the drops? And I said, oh, I've been riding in the drops for years. And he kind of gave me a sort of thing, which I'm not real happy about, a sort of thing, because it was sort of a negative sort of response. Like, when you're down there in the drops all the time, you may be putting extra pressure on your neck. I'm going to try to explore that a little bit more for the future. I do believe that I have a genetic disposition to having this problem, as my mom was an absolute mess as she got older. So I don't think it's entirely the bicycle that has caused this problem, but I am getting an awful lot of issues in my neck right now, which are going to have to be resolved if I want to continue riding my bicycle successfully. Anyway, moving on. I am also not accepting any comments on the fact that I'm now getting much older. It's amazing how you go from older to much older when you drop from one decade into another decade. And I'm about to hit a new decade here next Saturday. So, yeah, it's when I was younger, it sounded like really, really, really old. But now that I'm approaching it, it doesn't seem that old at all. I still feel like I'm 39. I will now have 31 years of experience to go along with that. Anyway, yeah, Ron's birthday's coming up. Talk about that next week. We'll talk about that next week. Got a bunch of people coming over. It should be a good time. Yeah, we get older. And as we do, of course, we start to develop little things that happen to our bodies that may catch up with us from maybe things that we did to our bodies a long, long time ago. I.e. riding my bike a lot, crashing my bike a number of times due to various circumstances. My bike racing days were pretty much, you kind of figured you were going to probably go down at least once a year. And, hopefully you knew how to protect yourself when you went down and you had a successful tumble, slide, and roll, and everything is fine. But anyway, these things happen. But it does catch up with you. Let's move on into the show here and get beyond. I didn't really mention about checking lube points on your bike. You want to make sure your chain is lubed properly. I would also, at this time of the year, just because my bike's been hanging for a while, I usually take a towel and or a rag, and I run my chain around it just to take off any of the dust and debris which may have settled on it over the wintertime. Also add a fresh coat of good lubrication onto my chain. So that's all good. And then I kind of check the lube points on the derailleurs and the pivot points on the brakes and all those various things to make sure that I'm getting good movement on the brakes and on the derailleurs and all that other stuff, in addition to the tire inflation thing. But most important of all is going to be putting air in the tires. That's usually the place that you most notice the problem. Fortunately, I did get out a little while ago on my we'll call it my gravel bike, because everyone calls them gravel bikes now. Sorry, my cyclocross bike. And so it's working just fine. I got a couple little quirks I got to work on with it, but I should have some time to do that soon. And, you gotta make sure the air pressure is right. That's all. When you're doing that and you're checking your tires out, you might want to check for any kind of cuts or anything like that may be in those tires. You could have run over a piece of glass. You might have a little bulge here and there. Those are things that aren't so good, and you probably should replace those tires as soon as you can if they are in that condition. And then as you're going over all your lube points on the bike too, and just kind of wiping things down, it's a good time of the year to be doing that. There's Fran. And it's actually a good time of the year to have done it 2 months ago. But, that's then, and now is now, and the weather. We had one of those days that it decided in April to go up to 80 degrees. And that is
just one day.
Highly unusual. We don't normally get that kind of weather in April, but every once in a while you do. So it went screaming up, and then the next day it went screaming back down. But it was still sunny and nice, and it was still beautiful out. So we do get some really nice days, and I can tell how nice the days are because I've been out working in my yard, and I can tell you how nice the days are simply by listening to the road chatter. Yeah, what does that mean? Listening to the road chatter means lots of people ride by our house on bicycles.
Motorcycles.
No, on bicycles, okay. Dear. This is bicycle talk, not motorcycle talk. Anyway, on bicycles. And when they ride by on bicycles, they are often chatting with one another because, cycling is a great social sport. It really is. You can get out, you can ride with your friends, you can talk about whatever, and just really enjoy the day and the amount of, the being outside and the great weather and the physical fitness you're getting out of it is wonderful. There's so many positive things about cycling. That's why I am who I am. I really like my bike, and I really like what my bike does for me in general, unless my bike is the reason why my neck is messed up, in which case, bad bike, very bad bike. No, not true. It's not that. I've got all sorts of other reasons why this could be happening, but that's another story.
Genetics.
It's genetic. My mom sounded like a popcorn popper when she was walking down the hallway in the house. Her joints were a mess, and anyway. And the good news is I'm far more active than my mom ever was at this age, so therefore I actually am in pretty good shape for considering the situation she was in versus the situation I am in. But anyway, we'll get on to that later on. So did you check your bike over? Did you make sure? Oh, another thing I forgot to mention. Did you open up your seat pack and see if you still have a tube in there? A real tube, not one that you got the last flat tire with and then forgot to throw it out when you got done and put a new tube in. Make sure your seat pack is all set up with proper tools and everything you would need to carry you through your season. These are just little checkpoints that you need to look into to make sure that you're ready to go for that first great ride, if you haven't been out yet. Now, a lot of you, I'm sure, have been out for months now because, it's that time of year. You want to get yourself fit. You want to get in shape. You want to make sure that the next good ride you have is always a great ride. And, so I'm sure there's a bunch of you that have been out already. But if you are getting out for the first time, remember those tires need to be looked at, and you need to make sure you got enough lube on the bike. If in any way you have any question and or doubt as to how to handle this and do this yourself, please visit your local bicycle shop. Big believer in the local bike shop, spent an entire lifetime in the industry, so I'm always going to promote that, and you can never, ever, ever get better coverage for your bike than from a professional. So it's good. It's a good thing. Anyway, let's get on into the show here a little bit more. We got content, congestion pricing, then and now. So back in the earlier years of the current resident in public housing, the occupant in the federal housing in DC, he basically didn't look at congestion pricing as being a real problem. But now all of a sudden, because new people have been hired that are out to ban anything that makes any sense from happening, now we've got a problem. And there are There are issues with this congestion pricing with the current administration and the current transportation secretary. Legal experts have torn into Mr. Duffy's rationale for trying to end congestion pricing. Federal law passed by Congress and President Obama specifically allowed for the toll. Constitutional law professor Roderick Hicks Jr. said that after Duffy had demanded that the MTA end the program, even if Duffy was raising a legitimate legal question, that Layden said that immediately pulling the plug on the program is not how these things are supposed to work. So, let's see. We'll see what happens. Looks like New York City is in the spotlight on this one, and we shall see how they end up responding to this. Right now, it's been such an incredibly good program. It has done so much for the commerce in New York City at a time when, we could use a little extra money flowing in the economy. So that's all good. This is, and how, you have to put that on. Sorry about that, folks. My phone was supposed to not do that. Anyway, so anyway, the congestion pricing is a very, very positive thing. So we're going to look into how well congestion pricing is doing. And the answer is very, very well. Okay, what does that mean? This is a great program. You charge extra tax by the vehicle if you drive into a part of a city which has over-congested roads with cars and trucks. And it is to try to get you to either ride your bicycle more in those areas or to use the mass transportation systems which actually function really well in those areas. And to make it so that if you absolutely must drive your car in, then you're going to pay for it. That's all. You're just going to pay for it. Now, this, of course, has offended some out there, especially those who own parking garages. And if you listen to Bicycle Talk on a regular basis, you will know that we have more places to park your car than we have people in the country. That makes a lot of sense. Anyway, parking is a big deal. And if you are in touch with oligarchs that are basically running most of the parking systems in a big city like New York and happen to be best buddies with the resident-in-chief, you got some issues. And so now you're complaining because you're not making that extra $1 billion this year that you would have made because there's parking restrictions and people are actually smarter than that, and so they will not park in your parking lot. Nice, huh? You know what the good news is? It is so much safer for cyclists. It is so much safer for pedestrians when this is done. It calms down the congestion of the roads. It makes it easier to cross the road if you're a pedestrian. It makes it easier to ride on the road if you're a cyclist. And they don't get taxed. So, if we are vulnerable users, then this just makes sense. Someone here that wrote this article, this is an article which is in a site called Curbed. And she says, by the way, this is my favorite statistic. So this is there's so much great information that has come out from anywhere from the fact that it's much easier to get around to get this, the audible level of traffic has come down because the excessive horn honking that you get in New York has lowered. And that right there is just like, that amazes me. And the number of complaints about excessive car honking in January and February was 70% lower than last January and February. How about that? Of all things, I would never have thought that that would be an issue that people would complain about, first of all, and secondly, would even show up as a thing. 70% less complaints. Great, great, great. So 100 days into the era of congestion pricing, which began with cheers and a few rants very early on January 5th, the statistics from January into March, both all in one and otherwise, are rolling in. And they show a trend that's clear and unmistakable. It's working. There is far, far less traffic on the streets. A group called the Congestion Pricing Now Coalition, made up of a wide variety of advocacy organizations that includes the Regional Plan Association, the Riders Alliance, Open Plans, the Nature Conservancy, and the Transportation Alternatives, has done a nice job of marshaling the facts. And if you're even slightly persuadable, it makes a strong case. The Holland Tunnel at rush hour has 65% fewer delays than it had before. 65%. That's a big number. And so it takes the time to get through down 48%. In those 100 days, 6 million fewer cars drove into Lower Manhattan than had done so a year earlier. In March, the decrease was 80,000 per day. In the congestion zone, we're seeing half as many traffic-related injuries. The bus routes in Manhattan are so much less clogged that the drivers are being forced to slow down to maintain their schedules. Ha! Get that. As a bicycle rider, this person experienced twice last week, and it was bizarre. A bus moseying along at 5 miles per hour in a wide open lane. Presumably, the schedules will soon have to be retimed. The diminishing honking is a bonus. So look at that. It's so much less congested that the buses are actually having to slow down. Hey, let's keep the buses slowed down. Dealing with a fast bus is not necessarily a safe situation for a cyclist. So, anyway, the cynic might call out that problem rather than a success. Suggesting that Manhattan has lost 80,000 daily restaurant customers, theatergoers, and shoppers. How many of them took the train instead? It's hard to judge because year over year, the numbers are likely to incorporate some of the return to office shift, but the commuter lines are definitely fuller than they were. And in January of 2024, Metro North carried almost exactly 5 million riders. In 2025, it carried 5.3 million, up about 8%. The numbers on New Jersey Transit and the LIRR are higher as well. And in the case of the latter, they began to rise immediately after January 5th, strongly suggesting that those passengers used to be drivers. So they're not driving. So that's good, right? That's real good. Let's hear it for taking cars off the road and making roads safer. So then we go on to other things that are happening, and what we're seeing is all of these places that we're really worried about how much business they're going to lose are actually up in business, not down in business, because there's more people walking on the streets. There's more people that are going to the cafes. There are more people that are going to the stores because it's safer. So it's easier for them to get around and meander around the streets without having to worry about being run over by an overly aggressive driver that's out there on the street. Not to mention the buses are going slower. So anyway, that's good. So anyway, this is all very, very positive news. And the commerce actually increasing is a huge, huge bonus to all of this. If now we could just incorporate this into other big cities, I think it would be a really, really good thing. And we might actually have a chance at bringing people back together again, because they're going to get to see each other more, because they're not going to be hiding behind their behemoth and therefore sheltering themselves from the social activity that we call conversation. Okay, that's it. I've said it. I've been there. I've done that. So congestion pricing is a really, really, really good thing, and we should explore it even more as far as a possibility for our future as a society. Anyway, just a comment. If everybody would just get out and ride their bike, I'll say it again, the world would be a much better place. I have one of my spin folks that takes my spin class in the morning just came back from Amsterdam, and he was blown away by the bicycle activity there, and said, so I said to him, I said, so Bill, did you ride a bike when you're there? He said, are you nuts? I would never ride a bicycle there. Now here's the other side of the spectrum here. I would never ride a bike. I said, what do you mean you wouldn't ride a bicycle there? He said, those people are crazy. And I said, look, I've watched videos of Amsterdam, Copenhagen, and you see that the bikes are, they're constantly going past each other. That looks like near misses, but they aren't at all, because they're so incredibly good at what they do that nobody gets hurt. There are very, very few crashes. There's very few incidents of bike-on-bike problems or pedestrian and bike problems. It just, you adapt for sure. And the difference is, if there should be a bike and bike accident or a bike on pedestrian accident, most definitely you will probably live through it, versus being hit by a large behemoth and you're not going to have the same chances of survival. So it's just a nicer and friendlier atmosphere. He said he was overwhelmed. He said he couldn't believe it. All you could hear was conversation in the streets. Everybody's out and about. 70% of the folks in Amsterdam ride bicycles. 70% versus 30% in cars. So there it is right there. And if you have an accident, or quote unquote I shouldn't say accident, because this is where we run into our problem. If you should have an encounter with a motorized vehicle, when the police come to check on the incident, it is immediately and first thought to be the driver of the vehicle's fault, not the bicyclist's fault. That's the way it is. It's flip-flop here. In the United States, if you're involved in a bicycle-to-car accident, it is immediately assumed that the bicycle did something wrong, where it's the other way around over there. That's my kind of place. Maybe we should just move to Amsterdam. What do you think, Franny?
To the Netherlands?
Yeah, to the Netherlands.
And the only problem with leaving the country is getting to see my family.
Yeah, and no one heard that because you're so far away from my mic, but that's okay. She thinks that she won't be able to see her family anymore if we go to the Netherlands. And that's probably true. I probably won't either, so there is that issue. No, we're not going anywhere. We're staying put. But the inviting idea of the fact that everyone rides a bike and people are happier than they are in any other place in the world has a certain appeal to it, definitely. And is it the bicycle that makes those people happier? Well, it's part of it. It's definitely part of it. They're more physically fit. They're more physically active. So therefore, their mental health and their physical health is going to be a lot better. than it is if you're in a car-centric environment, that's for sure. You're less anxious when you're riding a bike all the time because you're not, how am I going to get there? Oh my God, I got behind this cyclist and they're going really slow and I'm late and I started out too late. You know, that all gets erased. It all goes away. So, you know, there are things you can do that will make your community better too. And fortunately, we have a lot of people that are paying attention to this. And that's a beautiful thing. That's definitely a beautiful thing. So let us move on to, let's see, I have here on my list. So now I'm going to go right on to kind of a jumping forward here. I know that we're not there yet, but I want to get everyone's sight set on the fact that a week and a half from now, it's going to be May. And when it's May, we will be in National Bike Month. National Bike Month is promoted by the League of American Bicyclists and celebrated in communities from coast to coast. It was established in 1956. Yeah, the year of hot rod cars and, 55 Chevys. And wow, whew, boy, those cars really stunk too, I gotta tell you. Have you been behind a car from the 50s or 60s recently and smell the amount of exhaust that comes out of those things? Oh, it's disgusting. Anyway, so back in 1956, I drifted there. National Bike Month is a chance to showcase the many benefits of bicycling and encourage more folks to giving biking a try. So anyway, you can find out more about this at bikeleague.org. And there's an actual /events/bike-month. So anyway, there are all sorts of activities going on, including our Ride of Silence, which is coming up here in stores. We're getting a lot of publicity out about this. I'm hoping to see a lot more people this year. It is a rain or shine event, but this is a statement. And since we seem to be in an era of protesting, this is a silent protest that is basically showing that bikes belong on the road and that we're very concerned about those who have been either hit or injured or unfortunately lost loved ones due to a motorized vehicle versus car incident. So anyway, I'll talk more about that as we get deeper into May because we're going to continue to push and promote this. My friend Kevin Mahan has done a great job of getting everyone involved. The Yukon Police Department has gotten back to us and they will be helping us out with this, which is really nice because we do use Yukon campus to do our little support rally here. But I am really reaching out and inviting anyone who is within, a 50 or 100 mile radius, come join us. Come join us. We have plenty of parking. The local high school is right next door, and there's lots of parking in the parking lot. Anyway, we'll talk more about it as we get deeper into May, because I really want to see a crowd this year. This is a really good time to make a really strong statement. But anyway, let's say you have a business or a company that you own and you want to get your employees, or maybe you're just from human resources and you want to get employee engagement during Bike Month. It's a great little piece of information here about this, and I'm gonna give you some ideas here that might make it a beneficial promotion to get people involved in cycling. Not to mention, it puts kind of a fun aspect into going to work. Even though you still have to go to work, riding your bike there changes the conversation. Not to mention the fact that if you do ride your bike to work, you're much fresher and more able to do your job than you would be if you weren't riding your bicycle to work. So it's a good thing. So, like I said, it is promoted by the League of American Bicyclists, and it's part of May Bike Month, which is a big deal. And this is from People for Bikes, and this is to help inspire your staff to participate. They have gathered 5 practical and impactful ways to boost engagement and make biking fun for everyone. And the number one thing on the list is find your Bike Month champions. And this is, it says here, if you're reading this blog, your company's Bike Month champion may be you. Many organizations have specific committees focused on employee wellness or office morale, including in these groups in your early planning process, so that they help lead and support bike-related activities and events all month. There are many companies that have things that they want to get their employees involved in, a fun aspect of, and maybe in or out of the workplace. So this is if you know that person, that one that's always bringing in the birthday cakes and, doing all that kind of stuff, you might want to, contact them and say, hey, did you know that? And this is what you have to do. So number 2 here, it says remove barriers. Anticipate common deterrents to bike riding and get creative with ways to mitigate those barriers. A few examples would include, I live too far away. So offer park and ride options that are closer to work. What does that mean? It means that if you spend a little bit of time taking a look and seeing where you might find a park and ride parking lot that's closer to your place of employment, that journey is all of a sudden a lot shorter to ride into work. But you can still ride into work and you can still ride back out, possibly avoiding the rush hour craziness of leaving work too at the same time. Find yourself 5 or 10 miles away from where you work, and the congestion may have lightened up dramatically, and then you just get in your car and have a nice peaceful drive home. And so it's definitely a good thing to look into that option if you do live far away from work. And if you're taking 5 miles in, 5 miles out, whatever it is, 10 miles a day off of your commute, you're just going to be a lot happier. Trust me, you really will be a lot happier. It isn't safe to ride near the office. Yeah, this is a common thing, and you're not wrong. There is definitely a lot of congestion when you get into the inside of inner cities. But if you take a look around now, there's an awful lot more bike lanes than there used to be, and it is getting better. So evaluate that and talk maybe to your employees about that, and have them learn their way around the city in a very different way. When I do presentations, I always mention that I'm here to talk to you about seeing things in a different way, that most of the people in this room probably see things from the windshield of a car. I see them from a handlebar of a bicycle. And it does change your perspective. It makes a big difference. So encourage staff to ride in their own neighborhoods or on safe cycling routes nearby, and count that towards being a participant in riding your bike during Ride Your Bike Month. Okay, here's another argument. I don't have a bike. Well, it's never too late. And you can always find a local bike shop that'll have either a new or used bike that you could work with, or they may even have a rental that you could work with for that month too, and that might help you out too. But and then there's other avenues to find things like that too. So don't have a bike? Talk to your neighbor. I see that nice bike hanging in your neighbor's garage. They never ride it. Maybe you could borrow it for a month just to participate in this, because obviously they're not riding it. So, there's ways of being creative. That would require conversation, by the way, which is all part of why I like it when people ride bikes together, because conversation is a good thing. Build community. Number 3, people love being part of something bigger than themselves, and Bike Month offers a perfect opportunity to cultivate that sense of community. One fun way to bring people together is by creating custom Bike to Work Week t-shirts for participants. Not only can employees collect them each year, they can also become a great conversation starter. Another fantastic way to build a strong sense of camaraderie is by having your executive team host a tailgate commuter breakfast for employees who ride their bike to work. Involving senior leadership in these activities is key because it shows that bike commuting is valued and supported from the top down. This reinforces the idea that bicycle is not just a personal choice, but a celebrated and sustainable mode of transportation within your organization. Have fun. Yeah. You know, having a bike month bingo. You can make a little bingo card up and fill in each one as you have ridden your bike to work on different days. And the bingo card could say, check or adjust brakes, invite a friend to ride in a bike lane or Sharo, lube your bike chain, just very basic things, and you fill out the little bingo card. And that bingo card is, of course, at People for Bikes. You can find that bingo card. So that's kind of a cool thing. And you can just download that and then make it part of your promotion. Surprise and delight. Surprise your team with small yet meaningful rewards when they hit special milestones. Whether it's riding for the first time, attending an every week event, or biking through rainy days, unexpected rewards keep the momentum going. And then they also have, if you go to People for Bikes, they have a list of free and inexpensive ways to motivate the team. It's just really a perfect time to get your company involved with and excited about cycling. And hey, if it catches on with just even a handful of people, it's one step closer to getting more people out on the roads and using their bicycles for transportation. It's a good thing. So that's from People for Bikes. If you want to know more about them, they are peopleforbikes.org. Go to their website and you can get all sorts of cool information, including this article, which is important for helping you build and make things like this happen. I've got another little piece here, and I mentioned it earlier in the show. I'm going to run out of time here shortly. And it's what is a road diet? Remember I said something about road diet and, how it changes everything as far as...
It shouldn't be too low carb.
It shouldn't be too low carb. It's all true. You need your carbs to ride your bike. There's no question about that. You definitely want to have, you can... This is not about eating, okay? All right. This is about transforming roadways as we know them. So what exactly is a road diet? And why has this traffic calming strategy become such a cornerstone in modern urban design? So, at its core, road diet is a reconfiguration of a roadway that reduces the number of lanes dedicated to cars. Typically, it means transforming a 4-lane road into 3 lanes. 2 are for traffic, and 1 is for shared left turns. So you're allowing traffic to flow a little better because of that, but you're also going to slow it down a lot too at the same time. The other thing is that oftentimes traffic islands will be put in, roundabouts, one of my favorites, will be put in. They make a huge difference. They slow traffic down to non-deadly speed at intersections versus traffic lights, which increase the incidence of deadly crashes at intersections. There's just so many cool things you can do, including having like little bump outs where the crosswalks are, so that you know, if you're coming up too fast on that in a motorized vehicle and you clip one of those, you could damage your car. So there's a lot of ways to do it and give that vision of the road is not as big and open as and wide as it used to be. And, or as we like to call it here in the world of bicycle advocacy, deadly by design, because that's all that happens when you make the lanes wider. You just increase fatalities. That's what happens. And it's been studied and it's been proven. And once you start knocking down the number of lanes and reducing average speed, road diets have been known to cut crashes by 19 to 52%. Slower speeds also mean that when collisions do occur, they're far less likely to be fatal, especially for vulnerable road users like pedestrians and cyclists. So it's called the complete streets philosophy. And if you can Google that, you can look that up, and you'll see all sorts of ideas out there as exactly how you can make your community have more complete streets. It's really a great way to go. We'll be talking a lot more about this as we get into May, the month of May, because that is coming up. But now we're going to scoot on over to the world of bicycle racing, because there's some stuff going on here. Last weekend we had the Amstel Gold Race. It's not listed as one of the classics, but I've always known it as one of the classics. And it was a very, very interesting race. The men's race, I caught the last little piece of it, and Matthias Skjelmo, I think is how you say his last name. He's a Danish road cyclist, and he stunned world champion Tadej Pogačar and Olympic champion Remco Evenepoel as the trio sprinted for a finish line together. And it was a photo finish, let me tell you. It was so close. And Tadej was sure that he got this. He was, he had soloed away for a long time, and then Remco and Matthias, they chased him down, basically. They broke away and they chased him down. And so it was very, very exciting finish. And, the Amstel Gold Race has some climbs in it. It's definitely a very rolly course, so it was kind of interesting. But the photo finish was great. You can catch it on YouTube if you want to check it out. It was fun. And in the women's race, an all-Dutch podium was headed by Mishka Bredewold. And the 24-year-old clocked a time of 4 hours and 3 minutes as she pulled away in the final moments ahead of her compatriots Ellen van Dijk and Poek Platers. So anyway, it was cool. It was definitely a fun thing. There's all sorts of good little YouTube clips on that race, and that's kind of fun. And as we look at our UCI Pro calendar right now coming up, we're getting very, very close to the Tour of Italy, to the Giro d'Italia. The Tour of Romandie is from it's on 4/29/2025, so that'll be coming up this next weekend or shortly after. And then the Tour of Italy starts on the 9th of May, and that is going to be very interesting. And I keep threatening to talk about this because I really wanted to go over the Tour of Italy. So I'm going to push it back yet another week, just because there's a lot to talk about in the Tour of Italy this year, including a new starting point and who's going to be in the Tour of Italy, and there's some riders that are missing right now, and I'll let you guys kind of mill that one about as to who you think it is that might be missing. Not real sure, but I heard a possible concussion in the Paris-Nice race. Not sure. But yeah, we've got and I think that this is the teaser. I think he is also he just had another child, and I think he's starting to see life in a different way, even though he is an amazing, amazing bike rider. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And I'll try to have some more background information on that next week, too, when we talk some more here on Bicycle Talk. In the meantime, I think that pretty much brings me to my events page. And we have a few things going on locally. We have the Hampton Energy Fair and Electric Car and Electric Bike Show. Really cool. Saturday, May 3rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Hampton Elementary School. I have been contacted on that, and we'll probably go out and talk with them about e-bikes, because they're very interested in having me there after listening to the show. So that's going to be kind of a cool thing, and it's an innovative mobile learning experience. So it's kind of a cool thing. And they're also going to have fun stuff that I like solar and heat pumps and geothermal energy savings and fun stuff, not to mention e-bikes and electric cars. So fun stuff, and that will be on the 3rd of May. Also, to remind you, the Ride of Silence is back for 2025. It's Wednesday, May 21st, worldwide, 7 p.m. Absolutely. It's always the third Wednesday in May. And we will have our local edition of it again here at the community center and town hall parking lot. That's where we begin. You can also as overflow parking can be over at E.O. Smith High School, which is right next door. And we're hoping to get a big crowd of people here. We make an announcement before we leave, and then we ride silently for 3 miles at a very, very slow pace, escorted by the Yukon Police Department. And it is to basically, I'm not going to say celebrate, because this is not a celebration, but to honor those who have been hurt and or have lost their lives by riding their bicycles on busy roads. So anyway, we just kind of take over the road. It's a whole lot of fun. It starts at 7 p.m. We like to gather people between 6:30 and 6:50 p.m. for announcements, and that will be at 10 South Eagle Road or 4 South Eagle Road in Storrs, Connecticut. Remember, a helmet is mandatory, and we're not going to ride any faster than 12 miles per hour, so it's not a race. It's just a short, slow ride. The Best Buddies ride on May 31st is from Boston to Hyannisport. That is coming up very soon, too. And anyway, that's what I have currently as far as announcement goes. So, finishing points. Why are people so afraid of congestion pricing? Congestion pricing works. Deal with it, as we as cyclists and vulnerable users can all be safer, and we can all breathe like cleaner air. This is kind of a no-brainer. It's not about you, the motorist. It's about all of us. It's 2025. This clip from my friends at the League of American Bicyclists. Bicycling is freedom. Life is better for everyone when more people ride bikes. The League is making biking easier and safer option for more people, because when more people bike, people are happier and healthier, and our communities are safer and friendlier, and our planet is greener. Together, we can help more people know the joy of bicycling. I'll say it again, it won't be my last time. Get loud, get active. Our time has come. Stop complaining about traffic, dangerous roads, the price of gas, and the lack of places to safely ride, and do your part. Hey, take the Pedal and Run Challenge. Consider parking your car for a day and just ride your bike instead. You just might surprise yourself. The views expressed in this program do not reflect the views of the staff, management, or licensee of this station. You have been listening to Bicycle Talk with my friendly co-host, the lovely Dr. Fran Storch. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, you can leave comments below, or you can send me an email at bicycletalk1@gmail.com. This is Pedal and Ron. Remember, keep that rubber side down and the wind at your back. Get out and ride your bike. It really could save your life. This is 91.7 FM, WHUS Stores, and WHUS.org. Thanks for listening.